Hey guys, Dennis here. We have Alex, we have Tamara, Muddy Water Search and Recovery. And for those on YouTube, I know this looks really off tonight. We are using Restream tonight instead of StreamYard because we are live on TikTok as well tonight. So trying something new. Hopefully this works out and we will see.
Yeah, it's definitely a different look for us, 100%. So,
I'm not real sure I like it.
so one thing I don't know if we've noticed is we can't see any of the comments. We can't see who's with us.
Let me
Do you
see
know
if I
how to
can
switch that up, Dennis?
put that up here.
Oh, there's a chat button down the bottom right. Let's see. Will everybody pop up? There we go. I see everybody in the chat now. So, well, it's good to see everybody. Thank you for all being here. Who's here with us tonight?
And I'm trying to get it pulled up over on TikTok so I can see any comments that come in over here.
Yeah, this is definitely way different because, like I said, I have I have us on the TV and trying to get the comments to come up on the TV so we can see that way too is a little difficult.
There we go. So it seems like it has been forever since we have had a live feed like this. And for those on TikTok, we normally try to do a live feed on Sunday nights where we discuss a case, do an open discussion. And this last year really kind of sucked, but in personal lives, but we will be a lot more consistent with our Sunday nights, both on YouTube and TikToks. Like tonight's case that we're going to discuss, Marc Fullerton. This is a case we've worked on for a little while now. Alex and Tammy led a search effort. Um, really exhaustive dig that we will be getting into here in a bit. But Marc, and let's see, I've got his picture over here. Up wrong one. So Marc actually went missing June 3rd of 2020 out of Braggadocio, Missouri. 35 years old, 5'11", 150 pounds. He had recently had some dental work done and was still recovering on the day of his disappearance. His girlfriend had stated he was vomiting and was as sick as a dog. All of his teeth were extracted. He had a full set of dentures, but was not wearing them when he went missing. His ears are pierced. He has a scar on the knuckles of his right hand. Um, he had several tattoos, including his name, Marc, in Old English script on his abdomen, full sleeves. He was last seen in Braggadocio, Missouri on June 25th of 2020. His girlfriend stated he unexpectedly walked away from her residence while she was in the bathroom. She thought he might have headed to his grandfather's house 2 miles away, but he never arrived and has never been heard from again. He did leave behind all of his belongings, including his truck, wallet, keys, dentures, hat, jewelry, phone, and glasses. His cross necklace, which he reportedly never removed, was found broken on the floor of his girlfriend's home. Prior to his disappearance, he had said he planned to end his relationship with his girlfriend, and it is uncharacteristic for him to be out of touch with his family. The the necklace, and we've spoken with Mark's family. Unfortunately, many of them are now deceased. And of course, Alex and Tammy met some of the family. But the cross necklace, that's really a red flag. They have said that he would wear it in the shower, he would wear it to bed, he never took it off. And for it to be found broken there, pictures of that residence showed things were a
Yeah.
mess. It looked like there was a struggle took place.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, when you look through the pictures that have been posted, and um, I guess we should just back up a little bit and discuss the relationship. So when Dan was in the group, Dan had a really good relationship with Jenny, which was Mark's aunt. So that was Mark's mother's sister. And Jenny was kind of the one who led, we can just say she led the fight for justice for Mark. She led the whole situation with trying to find Mark, where he was at, so on and so forth. But Jenny had tremendous amounts of pictures, just from stuff that she had, copied from Facebook, stuff, that I guess the family and all them had received. So yes, the house, which I believe was Ashley's place, and Ashley, I believe, was the girlfriend at the time that this happened. The house was a complete and total disaster mess. It looked like very unclean, very unhealthy. And by all means, I'm not judging, I'm not saying anything. I'm just going by what the picture showed. But it looked like a physical confrontation had happened. Just everything was in complete chaos, is what it looked like. But yes, the whole thing that came back to, I guess kind of one of the major red flags was this cross. Supposedly the cross was found broken on the floor, and Mark never took it off for any reason. I believe something else that was brought up was when Mark supposedly walked off and left, his wallet was there, his keys. If I remember right, he didn't wear any shoes when he walked off. His dentures, which I believe the surgery for his teeth removal and dentures wasn't it just a few days to a week before all this happened?
I believe
And
so.
so supposedly those were not in his mouth because he was still in a lot of pain dealing with that. And something else I cannot remember off the top of my head was Ashley lived out on a gravel road, or maybe on a chip and seal road, which was also another odd situation where why wouldn't Mark put on shoes? If he was going to go walk to his grandfather's house, why would he not wear shoes to go walk down a gravel road, like a chip and seal road? It's not like I firmly believe I remember that she did not live in a neighborhood. It was not
Right.
sidewalks and asphalt or concrete, that type of situation. So I firmly, believe that there's all those different little situations just from the initial phone call that whatever took place that he was missing, just that immediate evidence that totally was a red flag for foul play, going down that path.
See, and walking to the grandparents, like you're saying, with no shoes on, it's reported it was 2 miles to his grandpa's house. I don't know anybody that's going to walk 2 miles barefoot
Absolutely
like that.
not. Absolutely. I don't think anybody would.
Was he reported missing from his girlfriend's house then?
Yes.
But he had left everything at home,
Yes.
his home, or he left everything at the girlfriend's house, her house.
Her house. And according to her, they did have an argument, and she went in to take a shower, and when she come out, she said he was gone. On top of finding all of his belongings there, his broken necklace there was reportedly a mattress and a quilt from that house that was later found down the road a piece that had what appeared to be bullet holes, and there appeared to be blood on those. And I haven't been able to find any confirmation that they were ever tested for DNA or any of that evidence. And a lot of times law enforcement won't release that. Even if they do, they want to protect their investigation. Over on TikTok, we had Ashley lived on the family farm and had a security camera, but it was conveniently disconnected that night.
Oh.
And it's also brought up on TikTok. There has been a lot of questions about corruption within law enforcement in that area. Even with you guys going down to do a search, there was some connections with law enforcement with that. And it was mostly through Aunt Jenny when it come to working with law enforcement in regards to this search. But law enforcement did seem very supportive of those search efforts.
Yeah. So I guess when we look at the entire picture from A to Z with Mark's case, Jenny was very adamant of corruption and all that. And this was it's very well known that people believe that. It's not for us to judge and say that there was corruption, because that's not our job. Our job was, of course, looking for Mark. So whether or not there was corruption or not, that's nothing that we looked into. That was not for us to make decisions about. We looked at the picture of the stories, the leads, the accusations, the rumors, the theories, everything at that point. And it was really the information that, Jenny had shared with Dan, and that Dan and, Jenny and us had all talked about when Tammy and I, we went to Arkansas, and that's where the search took place, at a residence in a neighborhood. And for the most part, everything that Jenny and the family was told was 100% true, except we didn't find Mark. We found everything else that they had discussed. They basically had discussed with, them that, and I honestly, I don't remember off the top of my head, because this has been a few years ago and we've done a lot of cases. So I'm sure if Dennis was to bring up the file and we go, start to finish, we would, figure out the notes about exactly who said what, when, where, and why, how come, so on and so forth. But basically, it was that there was a burn pit that had been covered up with dirt and some concrete. And in that burn pit, you were going to find, once you got down a little bit, you were going to find some concrete. And once you got down through that concrete, you were going to find some tires and wheels that had been burned. And then, once you got down through it, we were told we would find Marc's body. So yeah, we spent, we got down there on a Friday night. Saturday morning, we were on site, and it was Tammy and I and some other friends that had come down with us. And it was Jenny, which was Marc's aunt. It was Marc's biological father, and it was also Marc's stepfather. And, like I said, we started digging, and we got down 1.5 feet, 2 feet, and we found concrete where it looked like somebody had poured concrete and just poured it on the ground. It wasn't slabs of concrete broke up from like a sidewalk or a driveway. So we dug through that. We set that off to the side, and we were definitely in a burn pile that somebody had evidently dug a big hole, was burning trash, junk. And sure enough, we started finding wheels from cars, trucks, whatnot. And it had the steel belted cords wrapped around the wheels. So, of course, they had been burned in a fire. And we found all kinds of crap. I mean, literally just anything. We found the house that we were at. We found the original siding. We found like the front fake pillars that held up the front porch. And the reason we know this is because we went back and looked at the Google Earth Street images of the house, and we were able to identify the building materials that were in the burn pile. And so we really thought we were going to find Marc. I mean, we had found everything that, Jenny had found out, that we were basically, everything was there. Everything was there but Marc. And I literally was on my stomach in this burn pile, sifting through stuff, trying to make decisions. Could this be part of Marc? Does this look like a bone? Does this look like just trash? And, we had found what looked like sticks from like trees that had been burned, but there was nothing there that would point to a human remains. So we had dug all day Saturday. Saturday night, we went to dinner. We went back to the motel room. We discussed things. And what was weird is that day we seen a car go by numerous times. It was I want to say it was a GMC Acadia, and we seen it drive by multiple times. And I had made comments to Tammy, I feel like somebody's watching us, because we kind of had some threats. Threats about digging. So we were taking things very seriously. So, because we were backed up to a farm field, which there was roads on the other side of the farm field. There was farm fields to the east of us, But we were in a neighborhood. We just were in a neighborhood that behind us, it was farm fields. And to the east, the highway that ran north and south that was on the east side, there was farm fields. So the next morning we got up. We were back on site by, I think, 8:30. And at this point, we were concerned that we were not in the right burn pit in this backyard. And this backyard, this is just a rough estimate, was maybe 75 to 100 feet wide and maybe 100 feet, 125 feet deep, maybe, if that. I mean, it was little more than like your standard backyard in a regular residential neighborhood from the 60s and 70s, early 80s, per se. So we started digging test strips to see, and it was mostly sand. So we were digging test strips, and I don't know if Dennis can show one of those pictures real quick to everybody. So that was one of the pictures, because you can see, I think that's when we first started digging and ran into the started running into concrete trash. That was actually down in it when we were uncovering stuff in the burn pile. Okay, so this is a picture of a test strip. So unfortunately, we did not want to dig these people's backyard up, but these people were very nice. They had only owned the house a few months. They knew everything that was going on over the last few months. So they wanted answers too. So what we would do is we would dig these test strips every 3 or 4 feet. We would go down 2 to 3 feet. And what we were trying to do is find anything that was a burn pile. So we did this all over these people's backyard, and we were getting nowhere. I mean, it seemed like the only burn pile was all the way in the back of the yard along what would be, if you guys can see behind the excavator, between the backyard and what looks like the farm field, there is like it's like a dirt road for farmers' access. But finally, that GMC Acadia drove by really slow a couple times, and then they pulled in the driveway next door. And I told Tammy, and I pointed at Tammy, and Tammy walked over there, and then this lady came out around the fence, and Tammy met her. And so her and Tammy started talking, and I basically seemed like Tammy saying, "Stop." So we all went up, introduced ourselves to the neighbor lady, and she basically told us that we were digging in the wrong spot. And what do you mean? And she said that her and her husband had lived there like 20 some years, and that the people that lived in that house, that supposedly when Marc went missing, there was some relation to the drug world of drugs, all this stuff, the people that Marc was involved with, that they gutted that house and they had dug a big giant hole right behind the house, and that's where the burn pile was. She said they weren't digging out there by the road, they were digging up behind the house. The problem with this is that whole area, we were staying away from it because the people that ended up redoing the house, because I think, if I remember right, Dennis, was the story not that the drug people had gutted the house and was burning trash, and then he went to jail, something happened, somebody else got the house, they redid the house to sell it, and where the burn pile was is where they put in the new septic system. So right
Yes.
exactly where she was telling us where this was at is where the septic system was, and the current owner knew that where the septic system was, and he said, please don't dig there because I don't want you messing up my septic system. So Mark's stepfather got irately upset, walked off, mad, upset, cussing. Mark's biological dad, I think, was upset, but he wasn't. I don't remember him. I remember Mark's stepdad really upset and was like, why didn't the blankety blank come and tell us this yesterday? Because we seen her drive by numerous times. And so at that point, we just decided to stop because the owner did not want us digging up his septic tank area. And it was a decision of, did they dig all that burnt trash out of there, all that crap? Did they dig it all up and haul it off to redo the sand, everything to put the septic system in the lateral fields? So that was a hard decision for us. And the whole time that Tammy and I are down here, I'm sending stuff to Dennis, pictures, updates. We're on the phone, and this was before, of course, Tamara was with us. But I was literally sharing updates like every 10 minutes to what was going on. And at this point, we just stopped, because what else? I mean, if this lady had lived there this whole time, she seen all this stuff going on, and she saw the drug people had dug this hole and they were gutting the house and burning this. And this was the exact time that Mark had gone missing. And supposedly, we don't have proof to says this is 100% what happened. But the theories and the rumors and what Jenny had found out is that drug guy had something to do with the people that this Ashley woman and these drug people that Mark was around, they were somehow connected. And then that's why supposedly, and I don't know, I want to say, was there not some phone call stuff that was tracked by the police, and they tracked somebody's phones that went into Arkansas? And we're only talking where Mark went missing and all this happened at, and going down to Arkansas and crossing over into Arkansas is not very far. I mean, we're just talking about driving a couple towns over from where you might live. Not very far away. So at that point, we just pretty much cleaned up the yard. We tried to grade it out the best we could. And we basically shook hands, gave hugs, was apologetic for what had happened. And, we told Jenny, we told, Mark's stepfather and his biological dad that, we weren't going to give up. We would still work on his case. And that we would be in touch. And I guess we left and drove home. It took us, what did it take us, Dennis? 6.5, 7 hours to get home, I think, maybe a little longer.
Yeah.
But, that was the end of the story with the digging. That was the end of that lead with Jenny and the family that they felt was the most, that we were going to find Mark. And really, by what the people said about digging down, finding the concrete, then digging down into the burn pile and finding burnt tires and wheels and trash. No, we found that stuff. I mean, I remember sending pictures to Dennis and literally like looking at Tammy and talking to the family and be like, this is exactly what they told us we were going to find, but unfortunately the neighbor lady said we were in the wrong burn pile, and we dug deep enough down that in that burn pile we ended up back in sand, and we dug all the way around the burn pile like 5-6 feet out to make sure that there wasn't another burn pile just a few feet over. So we really we destroyed these people's backyard, and it was a blessing that they worked with us, and we did grade, we did do everything trying to do right and make it all right.
Yeah, that was one of the things. And Joanne mentioned it up here when she asked, was this the place where the lady told you later that it was a different spot where the burn spot was? We knew there's a chance that we may have to go back. So going in and trying to grade the yard, level it back out, make it look nice again was really a priority, so we didn't burn any bridges.
Yes.
Plus any other property in the area, if it come to needing to do a dig, they're going to see, hey, they went in, took care of everything at this location, so they're going to do the same with ours, and didn't want to burn any bridges there.
And also, if I remember right, we talked about this a few months ago. I want to say it was still warm out, which could have been just last week, let's be honest. But no,
Right.
It was pretty warm out. And I think we were talking about the case one night, Dennis and I was. And I think we found out, because the people that owned the house had only owned it a few months. At that point, they basically told me that they bought it as an investment. And in the end, because we had talked to them a few months before we finally actually got to go down there and dig, it was not because of us, it was because of them, because of they were not sure what was to happen. They had to get their lawyers involved, and they were talking with Jenny's family, Marc's family. And then they would talk with me because I was the one going to be coming down and doing the digging. So I think, and then they also had a family vacation that they took every year. So they were going to be gone for like 2 weeks. So I really think it was like 2 months before we actually was able to get down there.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that when we did some snooping this last time, and I'm just saying, not snooping like snooping to be the wrong way. But we were looking at information. I was trying to see if I still had the phone numbers on my phone for all their contacts. And it appeared that those people do not own that house no more. That they did end up selling it. Because at that point, that weekend, he was ready to sell, get away from this situation. Because it was mentally very hard for him and his wife to think that there could be someone's child buried in their backyard, especially when the neighbor lady said, hey, the burn pile is like 15 feet off the back of your house, And she pointed right in the middle of the backyard, and he's like, that's where the new septic tank is. So I don't know, at this point, I am sure that the new owners probably know of the story. I would assume I would think why they wouldn't. I couldn't think why they wouldn't know. I'm sure the people talk down there. But I don't know how to move forward because right now at this point, we've heard of a few other things, a few other leads. People have reached out to us, but nothing really stands out more than this place. I mean, this seems like the logical place according to what's happened. And, financially digging up someone's backyard and removing the septic tank and trying to dig down is going to be a costly endeavor. And at this point, who is going to pay for that? With Jenny gone, with Mark's biological father deceased, is Mark's mother and stepfather willing to financially do this? And I guess in a way, why wouldn't they? I think they did have a decent reward put up. But I went on Facebook earlier today, this afternoon. I did go put up that we were going live tonight, that the Muddy Waters channel was going to be discussing Mark's case, and that the majority of the pages for Mark Fullerton, everything that I posted basically had to be approved by the admins, and there was nothing on those pages since 2023, and one of them was early 2024. I don't know if that was Mark's aunt's pages and something else. One of the other pages did have something earlier in 2025, but I hate to say this, but it's just fallen off the face of the world. There's nothing recently been posted. I went back on YouTube. It seems like the newest videos are stuff that we've posted and replayed. There was a few shorts here and there, in like the last 6 months. But unfortunately, Mark's case has really fallen. And we, of course, we don't want that to happen. So what do we do? Where do we go from this point with Mark's case and moving forward? Because right now, one of the other leads that came into us, and I don't know if, Dennis, you want to discuss that. That's up to you how much detail you want to go into it. But it requires water. It requires the river. And I think it requires us going in and out of water into some land and back into some water and back into some land. But I really think that is it, because I specifically remember Mark's biological father telling us that they had some leads on some farmland that had some wells, and that supposedly the leads that they had got was that Mark was in one of these wells. And at that time, the fields were full of crops. They did not want anybody tearing up the fields. But as soon as, because I think there may be, and this is where the communication unfortunately stopped. And if we would have known where to look, we could have been doing this by now. But Mark's dad never told Tammy and I, hey, this is the address, this is the farm field, this is where the well is. Because evidently, to me, it sounded like they had knocked some houses, an old house down in a barn. and that the people that were farming it now had graded the road over and turned it into all farmland except for the well area by some trees. Well, if we would have known where that address was or whatnot, we could have moved forward with that by now. We could have made arrangements after harvest season was over and went to that place, that well, drove in there, put our cameras down in the well and seen if we seen any of Marc's, skeletal remains. But we didn't get that. We didn't get that information because all he told us is, oh, I have this lead for this, and this is what we were told. And, I think Jenny concurred to that story, but Jenny didn't tell us. And, it's just unfortunate that Jenny passed away. And then I honestly don't remember how long it was, but it wasn't terribly too long after Jenny passed away that Marc's biological dad passed away.
Right.
So.
And they also lost Marc's grandma around the same time frame as well. And was it Ashley, the girlfriend, that ended up passing, or was it someone
Ashley
else?
passed away sometime. I think it was it 2025?
It may have been, because I think she was the last one.
I know her name. Let me see if I can find her obituary. Let's see what I can find.
And while you're doing that, for some reason, the chat turned off on TikTok, so it's no longer live on the TikTok side. I tried to figure out how to get it back on there, but it would not let me without completely restarting the live feed. So I will catch up over on TikTok at another date with this.
Oh, really? I wonder why it did that.
Because if I remember right, the last time we done this on YouTube and TikTok, which was a while back ago, I believe it done it then too. So I may be finding a different route to go.
I'm not real familiar with this case, but I did get a couple of things. I felt like, I don't know, something with the heart. So I don't know if he was shot in the heart or I don't know. I just feel pain there. And then I did hear someone say, if I can remember it, it's I'm not that stupid kind of thing. It's more of like when you're talking about where he hid the body, and the thing I hear just intuitively is I'm not that stupid, or I wouldn't do something that stupid, something along that line. Don't know what that means, but that's what I heard.
Can you say that again now? I'm sorry.
So what I heard when you were talking about like where the body could be in the fire pit, the thing that I heard was, and I feel like this was maybe the killer or someone involved in it somehow, but I'm not that stupid, or I'm not stupid to do something like that, something to that effect. So I think it's more like thinking that you're smarter, smart enough to do something, rather than something basic, is how I'm interpreting it. Like it could be like in their mind, they thought, well, this is a smart thing to do, and I feel like usually when I hear stuff like that, especially when it's really clear, a lot of times that tends to be fairly accurate. It's just hard to pinpoint when and where, but
yeah.
But I felt like that was something that was said at one point. What that actually means, I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't get anything definitive, like where he's at or anything right now, but I had thought about working. There's a couple of friends of mine that are interested in missing people's cases. One of them's a dowser, another one's more of like a psychic medium. And we've all are kind of new at this, but thought about talking with them to see if maybe just between the three of us, if we could maybe come up with something that's independently at the same place, that would be really great. So I'll have to see if they're interested in that. So.
And that would be interesting.
Yeah, and I know, okay, one of my dowsers that I've worked with, she's been a dowser for years. I don't know her personally, but I've seen her on a lot of videos, and she's been part of, like, there's a Tucson Dowsing Society. She's active in that. She hosts the Flagstaff Dowsing conference, and she has found people just like, she doesn't do it a lot, she'll use the pendulum and just find the location. She said there was one case that she worked on where they said, can you find this, friend of ours, or it was like a niece or something. And so she used the map dowsing. She said she just used her phone. And I've done that before too, where you try to get it, is the person in this location, and you try to zero in on it. And she zeroed on this location, and they said that's so far away from where she was, she would never be there. And she said, okay, that's what I got though. Turns out they found her exactly right where she said, because she was near a creek, and the creek flooded and moved her body down so far away. So yeah, so it's, like I said, it's hit or miss. You just never know. But it might be worth a try just to see if we can get, because I would feel, like I said, I'm still kind of new at this, and I would feel bad like sending someone and there's nothing there, and I know it's not a perfect science or perfect method in general, because you just never know. But I'd want it to be something I felt very confident about before, because you guys put a lot of time and effort and investment in it. So
yeah.
Yeah, because we do have a couple locations that have come in. One of them, the one Alex was talking about, that one was interesting because we had another individual contact us, and the location he named is basically sounds just like this location. The other location involved a property that had an old silo on it, and the house that was on the property, we seen video from inside of it, and it was basically trashed, abandoned, the property overgrown, but the silo still had a chain and a lock on the door of it. So we've had both of those locations come in, and I know that property we would never be able to get permission to look at, but the other property Alex talked about, we would be able to look at it. That's just going to be a really extensive search at that location.
Oh, and I did hear clearly, I know you had mentioned drugs later, but I did hear drugs were involved. If there's drugs, I usually hear the word drugs. So
Yeah.
But yeah, it is really sad that, something had happened, and it's, I think when the family's not there, I think the police still look at it, but probably not with as much urgency if there isn't, a family person kind of pushing it too, because they have so many other cases on top of that. So
Yeah. Well, while we were talking, I did find Ashley's obituary, and it looks like she passed away. Let me go back to it. It looks like she passed away in April of 2024.
does it say why, or what the cause?
Well, I remember, hearing stuff from Jenny, because unfortunately you didn't get to meet Jenny. Jenny was a very, she was very nice. She was very sweet, but I don't know how in the world, how do we really, I don't know how we would say Jenny was. She was very loud. She was very, very, like in your face with information. and she had told us that this Ashley had been sick, something was going on, um, something like that. Um, so I don't know. I don't really know what was wrong with her. It's just anytime you deal with Mark's case, her name was always being brought up. We had done some shows in the past where we had quite a bit of people on the show. Um, we had some people, and I honestly, there was some people that lived in some apartments that had some connections to somebody with Ashley, and they were talking about people, and they were telling us, things that were going on here and there. But Jenny was always the one that had all the information. She would tell us anything and everything. So, that is what she told us. And like I said, by all means, we're not pointing fingers. We're not, it's just like Cooper Chambly VB. He wasn't a druggie. We're not saying he was. We're not saying she was. We're just going off what rumors had told us. Rumors, theories, accusations, hearsay. We're going off stuff, what Jenny told us, the family told us. That's how we do it's not to say it's a giant gossip ring, but in a way it is. It's just like when you get on Facebook. It's like when you get on and you look at other videos, you're going to have everybody point their finger and say, oh, she did it, or oh, he did it, or this guy did it because this guy was in cahoots with her, or this guy was in cahoots with him. So, if you've ever been around us, and there's a lot of you that are on here tonight who have been with us for a very long time, there's evidently some people on here that are new to us. We're not looking to point the finger at who did it. We're just looking to find the person that is missing to bring closure to the family. We're not in, this sounds silly, but we're not in the business of putting someone away in jail. We just want to know where somebody is. We try to look at the leads. We try to look at, the allegations, the theories, the rumors, the hearsays. That's what we look at to try to figure out where to look, where to go, and unfortunately, Ashley's name comes up a tremendous amount of times. There was quite a few other men that are in that circle of people that supposedly did the driving. They did this. They had something to do with supposedly dismembering or doing this or doing that. We're not, we just want to bring closure. That's all we look at, just like anybody else. I can't say everybody else, but the majority of people that are out there that look for missing people, they just want to bring closure. That's it. We are 100% not in it for reward money, nothing like that. As many of you know, if you listen to us frequently, it cost us money to do this. We're not receiving donations. We do not make tremendous amounts of money from YouTube by any means. So yes, it cost us money to do this. So,
and like Cooper here, I'm his aunt, and I have his pages, and I was knee deep. Eric and Whit was with me every weekend looking for him. Yes, there's been several people that have looked for Mark. And going back a little bit on what Alex was talking about, Mark's case, like so many other cases we're working on, if you could think of a theory, something that could happen to somebody, we've heard it about Mark. And, there's only one main thing that happens for somebody to go missing, if somebody's deceased, they didn't die 20 different ways. There's one way. So it's weeding through the rumors, the allegations that, in all honesty, does get frustrating because some things I think are put out intentional, knowing that it's false. But with Mark, you know, from what I have heard from people that knew Mark, Mark was a good guy. Uh, did he have problems? Yes, but we all have problems. You know, nothing stands out that shows he was anything different than a good guy.
Yeah.
So anytime we're discussing rumors or theories in regards to Mark's case, it's not an accusation. This is something that we have heard that we have had to work through. And like you said, you know, we're not doing this to prove that Mark's a good guy or not. We're not doing it to say Ashley had Mark murdered. We're not even doing it to say law enforcement's corrupt, even though there are signs that that area is. All that matters is Mark is missing. Mark deserves to be found. That's why we're here.
Yep. For sure.
So I've been screaming at the rooftop about the ditch behind her house, but nothing is happening.
So, since we're talking about her house, and I believe we're talking about Ashley's place at this point, is there some kind of body of water behind her old house on the farmland? Is there a creek? Is there a pond? Does it back up to the river? Can you tell us that? So, can you tell us? Is it a creek? Is it a pond? Is it the river? What kind of body of water is it? So, like a drainage ditch between farm fields to drain off excess water off of farm fields.
Oh, wow.
So, with that information, I mean, I take it you guys probably did what all you could do, but did the police ever act on that information, or did they just dismiss it?
And Alex, I'm going to put our phone numbers in the chat. So if any of them want to get a hold of one of us, they can.
That's fine. My number's not right.
Uh-oh.
It's 329-5460. That's why nobody ever calls my number.
I don't know why I do that. I always get those numbers mixed up.
It's okay. No, I mean, like we actually have a PO box. We've been advertising it, I believe, for 2 years. And can you believe, to this day, not one person has ever sent us a letter about one case. And we put it out there all the time.
It's
I mean,
PO
we
Box
used to tell
94,
people,
right?
93.
93.
Yeah. PO Box 93, Camden Point, Missouri. But
Well, what,
we've put it out there. You don't have to sign it. You can send it with no return address on it. But if you know something on a case, you know, just do something.
what's the zip code there?
64018. Well, we would, if you would like to speak with us just about the efforts you've done, there's some other things that we have been told. Um, I don't think we should discuss that really because it deals with other people's relatives. Like one of the people involved, we were told where to find this person's son, and we should go confront them because they know the truth. Um, but I'm not going to do that. That's not us. That's not our. And like the person's going to tell us the truth anyways.
Right.
We want what we find out on our own, or we want someone to come to us and show us some kind of proof or something. But working off rumor or hearsay, that's hard to do. That really is. And by all means, we don't want to falsely say something about somebody or do something. Anytime we talk about anything, we have some kind of proof to back up what we're talking about, either someone's emails, phone calls, text messages. If somebody told us that, hey, tomorrow morning about 7 o'clock it's going to be sunny out, I have it. We have it in a text message, we have it in an email. So but yeah.
So it looks like you'd asked about if the police looked into this. It says it runs for miles. It runs all the way through Arkansas, possibly to the Mississippi. But the police dismissed it. So does that mean the police didn't search the ditch, do like sonar or anything in the ditch water? Because if it's big enough for a boat, that's a fairly large drainage ditch.
Yeah, that's kind of that seems kind of like a creek, or at least what we would consider a creek. But I know up here there's drainage ditches between farm fields, but I don't really honestly think they're big enough to run a boat in.
Ours, yeah, I'm not familiar with that either, but yeah, this one sounds like it's fairly large.
But I'm going to look something up here real quick. So I might be quiet for just a second here, but I want to look at.
Yeah, she says it's a county ditch. The dogs picked up a scent near the. Trying to find it. Behind her house. Yeah, right under the bridge. How far away is the bridge from the house? Oh, wow. Wide enough for 2 pontoons to be side by side. And then her bloody comforter was found in the exact same spot. I'm assuming that's by the bridge. And like you said, we weren't sure if the police had bagged that for evidence. Walking distance, okay. From her house.
Yeah, Alex, this is sounding like an area we're going to need to search. And if we do go down for that, we're going to need to take a diver with us because this will probably need dove on as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all these locations of interest. I mean, even where we went in Arkansas. Sorry, I was drawing a blank. I mean, it was not very far from the river.
Yeah.
You know, all these towns are not very far. I mean, Carruthersville is very close to the river. Um, you know, multiple ones are super, super close. And I remember too, that was another issue that was brought up when we were down there digging was the water table. Everybody said that the water table, as soon as you started digging, the water table a foot down was going to come up because of the water table from the river. We did not experience that. I mean, like I said, there was a couple places when we were digging in that backyard, we were at least 4.5, 5 feet down into the sand, and it was what we would call virgin sand, like virgin dirt that's never been dug up from a piece of equipment, because dirt that's been dug up by a piece of equipment and put back in the ground is definitely different than dirt that's never been touched. So we were definitely digging in sand that had never been exposed before, never been excavated before. And even at the deepest time we were digging, we never experienced the water table coming up that high by any means. I don't know if that would play a role in any of these other places by any means, but at least at the location where we did the search at, it did not.
So it sounds like the comforter was discovered because you pulled it up by an anchor. Did they take that comforter, or do you have it since they decided not to analyze it?
That's just crazy that they didn't take that and analyze it.
Yeah, you could at least try, especially like I said, if you see what appears to be blood, you could at least, like she said, dry it out. And then I know the water ruins a lot, but you could at least try. You never know, you may luck out. And
if sorry, I was looking at the map and stuff, and if I wasn't paying attention at the second, I apologize. But when was the comforter found, the bedding comforter stuff? Was it found not too long after Mark went missing, or was this some time had passed?
it says a year later.
A year later.
In the exact spot the dogs hit underneath the bridge. Initially is what it sounds like. So yeah, it's one of those things that you may not, it may be difficult, you may not be able to get anything, but you would still, you'd still think you'd still collect it and still attempt to analyze it. It's no longer in evidence.
So what did they do with the items? Were they returned back to what they say would be the owner, or
did they?
A year later it started creeping out of the water. So are you meaning the water level had gone down to where it was physically showing on the bank or sticking up in the middle of the drainage ditch? Is that what you're meaning by that? And this is totally optional by any means. I'm just going to throw this out there, but if there's any kind of pictures that you would like to show, you can, since Dennis is running the show through his side, if you wanted to, you could text any kind of pictures or anything that you just might want to share so other people can see what we're discussing. If you would like, you could share that with Dennis, and Dennis could upload those pictures, or you could email them to our email. Whatever you would like to do. I'm just throwing that out there. By all means, you don't have to. Not putting you on the spot. I'm just saying if you would like to share, so the other guests, other people that are watching, because there is other people that are watching that are not in the chat, which I'm just throwing that out there also. That sounds like Jenny in a way. I have a zillion pictures. Except Jenny had a zillion stories. There was lots of times we would talk to Jenny for hours. And I think if you go back, I know we did a live one time. Did we do 1 or 2 lives with Jenny?
We did one Jenny, with her.
We had one with her on with us. But yeah, she was a hoot. She was very sweet, very nice, but she definitely wanted justice. She wanted Mark to be found, 100%.
And so even with I think I know the answer to this question, but even with the locating the comforter, the police did not do like a underwater search in that location after that was found.
That's not at my house. That must be Dennis's.
Not me.
Dennis has always got the cops called. Fire department or the cops. You know, like, I know we had said stuff before, but everything I've ever seen about Mark, that the most positive things I've ever seen wrote about Mark, besides it being a family member, was people that evidently had worked with Mark at one time or went to school with Mark. You know, people praised how nice he was, how sweet. He was a good guy. You know, if you needed help, he would help you, kind of stuff like that. So, you know, thinking back to everything, you know, it's a terrible situation that he, you know, ended up around people that he did. You know, but for the most part, it just sounds certainly like he was well liked. You know, a lot of people cherish their friendships with him, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's a very sad case. Kind of every parent's worst nightmare, almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can feel a lot of sadness with the case, but
yeah.
But yeah, if they're willing to send the pictures, you know, if you're all willing to send the pictures, that who knows, we may see something different, and if there is a chance to go out and look, you know, there'd be another location.
So this is something this is what, you know, when we do shows like this, how we have some kind of information that is a benefit is, we had heard of the comforter, but I didn't know it was found in the water in the drainage ditch behind Ashley's house. The only thing that we had ever heard about it is a comforter that supposedly had Mark's blood on it. So that was definitely something that we learned tonight, and where, the whole story behind it. That's been a blessing for tonight's show. Of that's just something else we learned that, as before, we didn't know that. And why, if we would have known that, things, maybe there could have been some way of doing things, of being able to work that side of it.
You do what you do.
What now?
This is why you all do what you do.
Yeah, and I didn't know if there was, like you had said, usually when the police should have a chain of custody, even if they no longer have it, they should have a chain of custody of where it went.
So I guess in one way, the drainage ditch where the comforter, I know this might sound silly, but the drainage ditch where the comforter was found, one, did Ashley admit that it was hers and that it belonged to her? Or did it, and also was the land that it was found? Because once again, I apologize. The house that Ashley was living in, was it not like a family farm, a family home, and she was renting it? I don't believe it was her home that her and her deceased husband owned, or I could be wrong. So she did admit that it was hers, but the blood that was on it was from her womanly cycle. Okay.
Did she say why she threw it in the drainage ditch?
Well, that's where I was kind of going to go, like, I think where Tamara might be going with this is if they had it in their possession and she said it was hers, did they give it back to Ashley? Because if Ashley was the rightful owner of it, they wouldn't have given it to any of the family. They would have, more than likely, in my thinking, would have given it back to the rightful owner. And
well, and once you throw it away, though, isn't it considered public domain once it's
but that's if it was on her land. Just because you throw it out in your yard, does it mean you're throwing it away, though? I mean,
well, it's just that the county owns the ditch, so she threw it away in the. Again, it was found in the water under a bridge, walking distance from her house in the drainage ditch that's owned by the county.
Okay.
I don't. That's what I'm hoping they weren't doing. Hoping they did throw it away.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand exactly the chain of how the events happened, and like they said, if they do not supposedly have it no more, where did it go? Usually, when there's a piece of evidence, and however it works out, if it's no longer as of evidence, they always try to return it to, I guess, the owner or
If the county
who
said,
rightfully owns it. So if Ashley admitted that it was hers and she had had a period on it, womanly cycle, however we say it, if she admitted that it was hers, but it was on her land, whether she rented the house, it was her stepfather's. That's where I was just curious if they did eventually give it back to her, and then she just got rid of it to hide if Mark's blood was on it. Because I believe in the end, if you go down the corruption side of the police, you know, as what Jenny had a lot of that. That's what she would always discuss.
yeah. Well, even if they did throw it away, there would still be a chain of custody form documenting that destruction, however. Or there could have been an attempt to return it. Who knows? But yeah, whether they'd provide that information or not, since it's an open case, then that's,
Probably need an FOIA at the very least.
yeah. Does the FOIAs work for open cases?
Normally, no. And even on closed cases, they do find loopholes to where it doesn't work sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. I've noticed that there was very old case back in the 50s that a friend of mine was investigating, and it was, I don't think it was ever really solved, but I mean, it was back in the early 50s, and they still won't release information on it because it's an open case. They're no longer looking at it at all, but they still won't release any information. And everyone who's been involved in it or could have been involved in it's passed away, but they still won't release it, which doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So they tore down the house that she lived in, is what it looks like. Okay, maybe not. Oh, wow.
Story after story here was something. So are we saying that the house that Ashley lived in has been torn down?
I think there's some.
But then Eric wrote, not that I know of, unless it was very recently, as her ex-husband was living there not too long ago. So she had remarried after all of this stuff happened with Mark, because on the obituary,
Oh,
it if I can get it to pull back up.
yeah, it says her friend Jimmy. So not her ex-husband, her friend Jimmy. Is that correct? Or is that the friend that had the gun?
Joanne, I'll definitely check those out.
Yeah, I mean,
So she was still
it
married when
says,
her and Mark were together. Okay.
because it says in the obituary, it says she was preceded in death by her father. Well, it says preceded in death by her father, and then it says her daddy, her daughter, and her husband. But it doesn't say. But when it said, well, in 2024, but it doesn't say she is survived by a husband. It just says siblings and one son and other relative. Well, it says other relatives and many friends, but I would think if she was married at the time of when she passed away, it would at least have that listed. Could be wrong.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Mhm.
Okay, so Jimmy was a handyman to the family and was obsessed with her, and her ex-husband was killed in a car accident, and her daughter died of an illness. She got divorced several years before Mark went missing before she passed. Oh, several years after Mark went missing. Several years after, before she passed.
Um, that's the only thing I see is the Palmer the guy with the last name of Palmer as her husband. Um, I guess would that be the one that died in the car accident? Could you tell us that? Well, I see where you wrote she used several different names. I believe I seen something somewhere, the last name of Durham or something else, that she had used a different last name of that.
Okay. I think yes, when they were married. Does that answer your question? I think.
I have a lot of questions.
There's a lot of questions.
A lot of questions and answers.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot. So
I was trying to read stuff on my phone a minute ago.
it looks like the house was owned by her stepdad. And then she has an ex living in her house now, it sounds like, or in her stepdad's house. Did we only have the one daughter?
So, I guess if you guys can here in the chat, can you explain how this Sean H plays in this scenario? Because evidently it must be shocking that this Sean H would be living in that house now. So what, I guess in my way, what would be the relationship?
So Sean H is her ex-husband. So she remarried.
So this Sean H is her ex-husband. So help us out here to understand this. And sorry to ask this. Is this the ex-husband before Palmer, or is this after Palmer and after Marc? Okay. After Palmer, and she was still married to him while seeing Marc. Okay. Okay. Can I ask a question? I know at Cooper, you said that you were Mark's aunt. If you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer this. Are you his dad's biological? Are you Mark's dad's sister? Because I believe that while we were in Arkansas, Mark's dad had mentioned his sister, and that I believe she had participated in some searches and some stuff. Okay. Thank you for answering that. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to understand, because all I knew about was Aunt Jenny, but I knew that Mark had an aunt on his biological father's side.
Yeah,
Uh-oh.
that explains the sadness too. So, so is Jimmy still around? Did he live on the property during this time?
I think what we need to do after tonight's episode is Dennis, if we still can replay the episodes where I think we talked with Jenny, and maybe it was the follow-up episode after Jenny, or maybe it was the episode where we discussed our search. I know we had a lot of people on talking, and maybe that would be a good refresher to go back and hear all those people's comments and all these names that are being brought up, and the significance in the roles that these people brought up these names. I guess as a refresher course and what's going on.
So I think they said there was. Did they say there was a website with a lot of this information too?
Well, I remember I hate to say this like I'm going to say it, but it seems like the majority of all of the pages that deal with Mark, most of them have just seemed to have died off. It doesn't seem like there's really anybody posting. There's not any updates to anything. Like I said, I even went back on YouTube looked up like the last 6 months worth of videos, and I was trying to see what kind of comments have been made on them. Because of course, there's people that don't watch our channel. I mean, that's obvious by our numbers, but for the most part, there's channels that we don't watch. But I do like to, when we have a case and we're working, on a certain person's case, I do like to go look at all the videos that I can find. I do like to read the comments because I do want to see what's being said, what kind of, things people are talking about. And I really didn't see anything new where anybody was posting anything. So, it just kind of it's just come to a standstill. And that does happen on cases. If there's cases that'll just basically come to a complete halt, nobody posts anything, nobody says anything, and we don't ever know why, what the reason is.
His most vocal advocates are now deceased.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value talking to the people here that were involved in it directly, and all their information and all the pictures and all the information they have collected at the time. And
Yeah.
Cute little bird.
Well, we are very sorry for the loss of your brother. I know we were definitely shocked when all this stuff was happening, when Jenny passed away, and then, your brother did. So our condolences, to you and your family over your loss. Is everybody seeing all the comments in the chat? Okay, because like I said, I have my TV on, and my wife and daughter's in here in the kitchen right now eating, and there's only one comment on YouTube running on the Roku TV, but right now through Restream, I only see like 6 comments. So there's another one that just popped up. It's not like it is on the computer as I'm watching it while we're doing it through the Restream. It's not like it is when we do it on StreamYard. So I just want to make sure, is everybody able to see all the comments on the right of the channel as they're watching this? Thank you, Mac.
yeah, I just checked the page too. Looks like there's comments there. They're matching what we have.
Okay, so now on my TV, all of the chats are showing up and they're blocking my face while watching YouTube on the TV. That's kind of funny. So I guess kind of a refresher would be, if I remember right, was the story that Jimmy, his truck was the one that they supposedly had put Mark's body in it and left town. And was it Jimmy's phone was the one the police or somebody had done some kind of tracking and it tracked over into Arkansas? Is that the story I remember? Dennis, we really just need to go back and rewatch the old episodes that we had done.
We do.
Maybe we should have done that first before we did tonight. Oh, wow. So my memory of how things kind of had gone down, I didn't know he sold the truck the day after and that he threw his phone in the ditch. I don't remember that part. That's not to say that I didn't know that, earlier on when we were working this case, but I honestly did not remember that as of now.
Yeah, I was gonna say that would be something to.
What'd you say, Tamara?
I was gonna say, look, I'm reading the comments about the truck, and they found the truck. Of course, I think the group here, we're part of the group that found the truck in Arkansas. They were told not to be involved in the. They threatened me and told me to stay out of this case.
Do you remember what color that truck is? Because if you remember, we went on Google Earth and we found what looked like a vehicle coming out of that driveway with something covered with a tarp in the back. And the date on the Google imaging was consistent.
Yeah, I kind of remember a picture. Was it not like a gray? And I'm colorblind, so was it like a silver or gray extended cab short bed GM truck?
I believe so.
But didn't it look like there was some kind of tarp in the? But it was in her driveway, was it not? Like down at the end of the driveway.
Yes.
Okay. So this is a question for Jana, if I'm saying your name right, Jana, but Mark's aunt. So with all this information, what does your heart tell you? What can you tell us, as in what your heart tells you, if you think if Mark was ever in that backyard at that house in Arkansas? Do you ever believe he could have been there? Or do you believe he was in the drainage ditch and he disappeared from that area behind Ashley's house in the drainage ditch? If that makes sense what I'm trying to say to you. Maybe I should have said it a better way. And so I guess the truck is not an extended cab short bed truck. I thought that's what I remember us seeing on some pictures.
No, it was black, Alex.
Was it? Okay. My bad. I apologize.
The one that we have in that image is black.
So Jana, I mean, we can definitely agree that people were running their mouths, 100%, because of all the things that people have said to us, the leads that have come into us, different types of, communication. So, and this kind of happens in all cases. I mean, there's always stories to lead people away from the truth. So, um, so I guess if the possibility is that if Mark was in the drainage ditch, do you believe that's where he's always been and he still could be there? I don't know the weather down there, so I don't know what kind of flooding happens, throughout the seasons. Could the drainage ditch have gone up and washed his remains farther down somewhere? What is your thoughts on that? Okay. Sorry. Let's see. So I guess in my mind is if we were to move forward with trying to make something happen and searching this drainage ditch, do you think the current property owner would allow it? I mean, if it truly is, if it's still related to Ashley, do you think they would even remotely allow it? Well, I mean, we still have to be able to gain access to it. So, I guess what we need to do is we need to see some kind of Google Earth images. Oh, so there is public access. That's what I was just getting ready to say. Okay, well,
Nice.
that does help with this situation tremendously. I guess we need to see a Google Earth image of Ashley's house in conjunction, with the drainage ditch and possibly the public access. We need to get some X's on some images so we can look at these things and possibly look at it that way.
Yeah, because we go down there, we're going to want to make sure we have all the equipment that we're going to need with us to get that knocked out. And this will also include having to talk to a couple people we know about coming along too and diving.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I really think that area really needs searched completely.
Yeah, I definitely think I definitely think we that would be the most logical step with Mark's case at this point moving forward. Well, Jana, can you send those to our email address so Dennis can upload those pictures into our files and stuff? I mean, that would tremendously help with knowing exactly what we're looking at.
And if some of the pictures, like I said, drone pictures, if there's videos, anything that's too big, do you guys have like a Dropbox or something like that?
Oh, you mean
Just if, because like I said, they're talking about drone pictures. If they have videos too, you might need like Dropbox or something.
yeah, okay. Sorry, it took me a minute to remember what Dropbox was.
Yeah, it took me a minute to remember what it was because I was trying to say box.com and it's like, I know it's not that. It's Dropbox. But yeah, I mean, depends what they have. It sounds like they have a lot of things to go through. And they said
Yeah.
the mattress was found somewhere too. I wasn't sure where the mattress was found. Did the police take that into evidence too? And did she say it was her mattress and why she threw it away where she did?
So when the mattress was found, so there was a comforter found and a mattress found, correct? And the mattress was not found in the drainage ditch. Just the comforter was, correct? Okay. Thank you, Jana, for clearing that up. Well, this is amazing. It hasn't kicked us off yet. Does the free stream
Right.
have a time limit, Dennis?
That I'm not sure. This is like the second time that I've used this. You know what Alex is talking about, when we're on StreamYard, a lot of times once we hit 2 hours to 2 hours and 15 minutes, it always kicks us off. We're at 2 hours and 6 minutes tonight.
Yeah.
I've got 4 of our previous videos on Mark Fullerton uploading right now. This includes the one that Jenny joined us on. These will be uploaded and will air again in the morning. So those will all 4 be at the top of the list on the channel.
Awesome. Yeah. Mac, I wasn't trying to jinx it. I was just I think there's been times before where we're talking and we've looked up and the timer is not moving no more. And it's like, how long we been talking, and we realize we're not even live anymore. So that does happen. So
Goodness.
well, I just wanted to personally thank everybody that's been on tonight. Thank you very much for the information, the stuff that we've been talking about. I know we all appreciate it very much. And with this new information, I definitely think it will be the next move on our part when it comes to the Mark Fullerton case. I really think that this needs to be where we focus coming up when we get out and start doing searches again. So we'll definitely, be looking at this. I am sure we will do another show on Mark's case. Maybe we'll give it maybe a month, maybe a little bit longer to let everybody watch the other videos. We do have some other cases that we need to do shows on. So we'll give it a little bit of time. If that's what, the gang wants to do. If they want to do it quicker, we definitely can do it quicker. But I definitely think that, for us, I definitely think with Muddy Waters moving forward, that would be the most ideal location to search for. So we will see what happens.
Yeah, I 100% agree. This area needs fully searched.
Yeah. Sorry, I've gotten a bunch of text here all of a sudden. I got to answer.
So, guys, I'm going to put in our website address there too. Alex, his phone number's on there. My phone number's on there. Plus, we can be contacted directly off the website too. And then, of course, I've got me and Alex have our phone numbers in the chat as well as our email address. So please reach out anytime. The P.O. box is also in the chat. If you have information you want to remain anonymous, please use that route. Multiple ways you can get information to us.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, we've thrown it out a gazillion times that, you know, if somebody wants to, you know, mail something, you know, I know people think, oh, well, I have to put my name and my address on it. No, you don't. You know, if you think that somebody's going to track you down, then go drive some other town and mail your envelope, you know. But there is ways to get information to help. So,
yeah, because in all honesty, we don't care who you are, how you're related to the case, what you look like, where you live. All we need is the information.
Yeah. Because, you know, we're just trying to bring closure to the family. Our immediate goal is to take care of the families and bring closure. So, I think this is what we need to do is move forward with that location of interest for the next search. This next round of stuff that we try to work on for Mark and for his family. You know, we do thank everybody that was here tonight. You know, I hope this is a positive movement, you know. So, and please, you know, if Dennis gets these other videos up from our past discussions, you know, please watch them. You know, there could be something in there that we've all missed and we might need to discuss the next time we discuss it. And by all means, if you do watch these other videos that we have done on Mark's case and you feel there is something that we need to discuss, just call us, email us, you know, message Dennis, message me, call Dennis, message the group's email and say, hey, I want to talk about this. Let's talk about it. We will talk about it, you know, for sure.
And we can go a step further. If anybody would like to join us on a live and have this discussion, let us know. And we would be more than happy to bring you on here with us and have that discussion here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because we can't give up hope. We can't, you know, we just can't let Mark's case die. We can't let any of these missing people's cases die. And that's what's so sad is today I kind of felt that way. I felt after I looked at all these pages, these group pages, the pages on Facebook, you know, I looked at stuff, you know, on Facebook. I kind of feel that way. I kind of feel like his case is slowly dying. And we can't let that happen. We've got to spread the word, spread the awareness, you know, and keep it up. Keep up, you know, doing what we can do. So, for sure.
So, guys, we are going to need to go ahead and shut this one down tonight so it doesn't just kick us off like the other one does. But 3 of the videos has uploaded. The 4th one is uploading now. They will start airing at actually midnight tonight. So when y'all get free time tomorrow, they'll be up and ready for you. Make sure to check them out. Again, reach out to us with any information. You know, if that's your missing family member or a missing friend, even if you just need somebody to talk to and to vent to, anything, we're here for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like Dennis has said, you know, just make that phone call, email us, you know, especially after you watch these videos that Dennis is going to replay. If there's something there, just hit us up. Be like, hey, we didn't talk about this last night. Let's talk about this. You know, we need to look at this. You know, what about this person here? We need to discuss that person. So
Yeah. So guys, with that, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Stay tuned. We'll be live again next Sunday night. We'll announce in the coming days what case we're going to discuss that night. It will probably be Loy Evans that we discuss next Sunday night. So guys, with that, again, thank you. You guys stay safe, and we will see you guys down